So Nick, EGM of People and Culture here at Genesis Energy.
Yes.
Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
being a finalist in the Safest Place to Work Awards this year, 2018, and also Innovation Award winner. Um, Great to catch up
Thank you.
and talk to you this morning about some of the cool stuff that you guys have been doing, both in the past 2 or 3 years, right through to now, and in the future.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, thanks for having me along. It's great to, first of all, it was great to be recognised at the awards, but thinking about the Enterprise Innovation Award that we got and reflecting back some of the challenges, it was a wonderful chance for us to put some real wind back into our sails as we continue to evolve our journey as we look forward for health and safety of all of our people that do our work.
So tell us a wee bit about that journey from where you've actually come from,
Sure.
and where you are now, and some of the stuff that you're looking to do in the future to build your health and safety capability and culture.
Yeah, sure. So I think I'll probably go back to about 2011, 2012. That's when we sort of really woke up as an organisation to realise that actually our people were getting sick and our people were actually getting hurt whilst they were working with us. And that really sort of concerned us, as it naturally would. And at the time, the leadership there for Genesis Energy took that hugely seriously, thank goodness. And the legacy that they really broke through then is to really invest in culture for health and safety. So back then, we did a lot of things in terms of checklists and job preparations and safety analysis, and we're pretty good at our injury and incident experiences and management of that. We were just probably well too practiced at it. But what we saw as an opportunity is to really invest in our culture of health and safety, and so we undertook quite a journey and an investment actually. So every individual across Genesis Energy spent a lot of time in understanding about their personal responsibility, their PB5, what we talk about, their PB5, and how they take that home. And that's when we really went to charge after zero harm and ensuring that everybody from a cultural alignment perspective could go home safe and well as they did when they turned up for the job at the start of the day. And that had masses of success for us. We saw our TRIFR rate really plummet. So we went through one of those experiences where we were here and we went down again. And then since then it has plateaued, which is nice. We had a little bit of a blip in our injury and experience ratings when we bought our LPG distribution business. I can talk a little bit about that. But I guess the good news is that from a holistic perspective of how we conduct ourselves, how we measure ourselves, how we reward and recognise ourselves, that's fully ingrained now as it relates to health and safety. So we can hand on heart say it's truly part of our fabric, our DNA, which is really, really important. So that's where we've come from. So our experience has taught us that we can evolve our practices and processes, but our best defence and best environment and chances for health and safety is through our culture, and we've continued to evolve that day to day. So that was back then. We've if we take to where we're at now, I guess the thing that you've helped us work through is that the context and the environment in which we're operating in now. So from the labour markets, from the work that we do, from the engagement with our board, it's all shifting sands around us. So we constantly renew our focus for health and safety here at Genesis. We always make sure that we hold on to the DNA that we have for our safety, but we keep evolving the conversation, we keep evolving the engagement, and we use every opportunity to challenge ourselves about how we can do better.
So one of the fundamental shifts that I saw this year with Genesis Energy was the refresh that you did on your health and safety strategy.
Yeah.
And it appeared to me that there was a stronger shift towards qualitative and quantitative data to underpin your health and safety strategy, and then presenting it not just to Mark and the executive team, but actually to the board.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was a few facets to driving that refresh. One is we're good at the numbers. We're good at the numbers game. So our metrics were holding well. So what is it, the stuff that we don't know well? And how can we inform ourselves? And then again, from a cultural perspective, and this is thinking about safety, how can we illuminate ourselves with more information and more insights? So using Safe365, that was a big driver for us to understand more about we had a sense, a hypothesis that we were fairly mature in the safety world, but we weren't sure about if we were as mature in terms of health when it comes to health and safety. And we're a busy place to work now. We're a very diverse operational business, from our fuel mix through our generation assets to our call centre to our LPG drivers, and notwithstanding the professionals that kind of make up the fabric too. So we're a very diverse business, and what we needed to do is really get underneath to say, let's not make any assumptions about our maturity today, which was really born out of our operational world, but making sure that we can really traverse and transfer those good things that are happening in parts of the business to be very broad across the business, but also recognising that the environments that we operate in are very different. So really challenging ourselves about having good risk discussions around where are our critical risks, and the refreshment for us is making sure that we deployed our right resources and focus on where the critical risks are across the business. Integrating a whole new business into Genesis, when we bought the LPG distribution, that brought on 100 people for us, which was a 10% increase in our employee base. And then you've got to think about the context of how we're doing our work now. Technology gives us so many opportunities now around how we can innovate and do safety well, and can we even eradicate risks through better use of technology. So we were really excited about that as a prospect. So the refreshment took in the fact that, we're pretty mature, but can we do better? What does technology give us? What information do we need to gather here? And also alluded it to before as well, the health and safety. Coming back to the complexities and the undertakings that we now do in the workplace, there's a consequence for flexibility. Flexibility means that integration of work and life becomes quite solid, and as employers we have to take that into consideration when we want people to do their best work and to do it safe and well, and we have to think more broadly about their well-being. And I also think it's a bit of an expectation from employees now that as an employer, a reasonably sized employer, that we're not just thinking about the safety, but we're thinking about their well-being as well, and that we're investing there. So that was, the big drivers for why we needed to refresh our health and safety strategy. And as a consequence now, we've got a real due north on really zooming in on our critical risks and ensuring that they are well known and managed by everybody, not just those that face them day to day. So that strengthens our culture of understanding and awareness. Eradicate where we can risks through technology. Now, of course, we have to be mindful of what cost that brings, but at least we're having those conversations now, and really investing in well-being as well.
So tell us about, and there's two things I wouldn't mind canvassing with you. One is the purchase of another business which has a different set of health and safety capability and culture, and merging or bringing that into Genesis Energy. Tell us a wee bit about that. What happened in that particular situation?
Yeah, well, we started, we're really pleased about how that business is integrated, and within a year now of being with Genesis, they're achieving very strong safety results and very strong employee engagement results, which we know go hand in hand. So an engaged employee is a safe and well employee, so that's something we've definitely learned here at Genesis. But we started from a position of respect. So we very much understood that they had their way of doing health and safety, and obviously through our due diligence we were able to explore that some more. So notwithstanding doing a full audit around their health and safety practices when we first took them over, it was very much from a position of respect and how we can empower them to continue doing what they were doing, because they had a good safety track record. Because what we didn't want to do is swallow them up straight away with this is how we do it here in Genesis Energy. So we took our time and we took them on a journey over 12 months where we would spend time with the leadership group to explain this is how we do it. We came across lots of bumps along the road around difference in standards, and how we made that very, very clear for everybody working with us. And that was the only way. So I think, it was measured, it was considered, and it was integrated over time.
I know when we did the exercise with you looking at the various business units, and one of the comments I think was made within the executive team of it, actually they should all be roughly the same because they've got the same health and safety policy and we've got the same health and safety system. And then when we actually calibrated and we looked at each of your business units, they weren't all the same.
No, not at all, not at all. And it's great to have executives that call that out, because it gives us a reason to have great conversations. But there was a couple of things, right? I mean, the makeup of the workforce is completely different to what we've had before. So largely male of a certain age group, working in depots all around the country, very hard-working individuals, but working with some of the highest risks around driving day to day, with heavy trucks and hazardous goods. And you think about our policies and their policies. The reality is you've got to think about the person that's doing the job at the end of the day, and is it clear to them of how they're supported and what's expected of them. So you think about that as small depot in Hornby. You've got to, and there's 3 blokes working together. You really kind of need to think about your lone worker approach and what's right for them. You need to think about how do you communicate with all of those different depots. We would make assumptions that you could record your safety observations using your laptop. They don't have laptops. They might have one kiosk in the actual depot. So it's ensuring that we use better technology to actually put tools into literally in the hands of the workers, so that they can enter their safety observations. But the great news is that we actually learnt a lot from that business and bringing it in as well, because they had that entrepreneurial spirit of looking after themselves and their mates on, as they're doing their routes day to day. And actually we learnt a lot from them about actually responding to what they need, as opposed to us saying this is how we think you should do it. So job safety analysis, for example, we've got a standard, we've got a way, we've got a template. As we know, a lot of them are generic, so it's about handing that over to the teams and saying, well, you redo this for what works for you. And that's what we've been working on with the teams.
So I remember when we pulled together the strategy for Genesis Energy, and we calibrated the different business units. How useful was that for you in terms of having that line of sight on those business units that needed more help than others, in terms of time, money and energy, and then measuring progress and your ROI?
Well, actually, from an ROI perspective, it was less about what we learned from the individual business units, because by and large, given where we are as an organisation, we had a feel, we had a sense, but the data, and again, this fits with our culture here at Genesis, to have the information and insights at our fingertips has been the real return for us. But actually, it was the hidden opportunities of being able to look at it and say, well, actually, over here in generation, you're not too different to what we do over here in LPG. And actually, can we learn from that? Can we pool our resources together? Can we bring leaders together to inspire and get some of that peer-to-peer sharing? That's where the results have come for us in the approach that we've done. So yes, we have the business units, and I know some companies it works to have that nice competitive edge, but really we were looking for success together across the organisation. So pairing up strengths with work-ons across the business, that's where we're going.
So a data-driven organisation where information is a key insight into how you operate and also how you service the market and customers.
Absolutely.
When you took your strategy to the board, we think about board and governance, to effectively show them and share with them your thoughts around where you're going to in the future. How did that process evolve and move for you in terms of being the head of health and safety in the organisation, presenting a health and safety strategy?
I think from a company perspective, we always want to be able to offer up the information so we can give them the ability to provide that governance and assurance over us. But one of the things that I've really experienced over the last 12 to 18 months is the increased engagement from individual board directors. And here at Genesis, we've had a bit of a refresh with some of our directors, and it's been wonderful for us, for our culture of health and safety. New pair of eyes, new expectations, great questions that asked of me. So Nick, I love the information, the insights that you provide in here. That's good, strong occupational health and safety. I want you to bring in more of the process safety audit work that you do. And it's one of these sort of, they're lifting up all the time more, not more information, but more insights that places them into a good position to ask good questions. But there's definitely been a shift for us around, first of all, their expectation of what they want from someone like me in presenting up data to them, but also their engagement as well has been well noticed, not by just myself but by my boss and my colleagues as well. And there's this real kind of I was going to say excitement, but there's a real fever around engaging with the operational heads of the business to talk authentically with the evidence, with the information around how we're running our shops and keeping our people safe and well. And it's led to really enriching conversations and results, obviously, for us as a business, because I never walk away with a board engagement without more work to do.
So talking about more work to do and the things that you're looking to do over the next couple of years, naturally I've had some insight into that, which is really cool, but it'd be really good to share that with others, particularly the piece around the ageing workforce and the challenges that brings, health and well-being in the workplace, and some of the challenges that also brings, because you've got a very complex, diverse organisation here with office people out on locations, people driving to places. It is a really complex business compared to a lot of businesses in New Zealand. So there's a lot of moving parts. So what are some of the things that you're focusing on going forward?
So what I want to nail, that's an English term, what I really want to nail over the next couple of years is some of our risks, or some of the work that's done now and how we perform that work. Can that be designed better for the future with safety in mind? And what I mean by that is, as opposed to putting somebody in a tunnel to check it, can we put a drone in the tunnel to check it? You know, the advancements of technology. Now, this is something that we would do, and it would be something that we respond to, but what we want to do now is really go after that. So us going out to the market and internationally and globally to find solutions that we can bring into New Zealand and particularly into Genesis to help eradicate some of the risks. That's something that we really want to nail over the next couple of years. And I don't know what that looks like, Mark. All I know is that we're going after it. What I really want to nail as well is a stronger consultation and engagement with all of our employees around safety. And what I mean by that is moving away from the what I would say very traditional health and safety committees to much more focus groups that are from the ground up driving much more engagement. So still holding those responsibilities and investing in our health and safety representatives, but investing in their skill sets, not just on the technical side of health and safety, but how they consult and how they engage with employees, so that we get as much reach as we can to get that voice back into the centre, so we know how to respond and learn from that. So employee consultation, understanding and clarity of our risks as it relates to psychosocial. There are multiple threat lines that we faced, from an angry customer who's dissatisfied with a bill complaint on the phone, or an unsafe environment into somebody's home that we're going into, the general workplace stress and how that's changing over time. So lots of threats that face us. You mentioned ageing workforce. As you know, the dimensions of our business now is that our youngest worker is 17, our oldest is 74. And some of the things that we face, and I'm sure others will face as well, is think about insurances, for example, in our banner of what we offer for our employees. Our subsidised insurances finish at age 70. So we need to ensure that we're very inclusive for an ageing workforce. The other things that ageing workforce is, there's business risk for us with our ageing workforce in terms of institutional knowledge, because our older ones that tend to be with us for the longest as well. So we need to build real robustness into our systems and processes so that we can protect ourselves from that institutional knowledge, but also just reflecting that is our work environment suitable for the older worker, and then can they continue to have access to that work and have meaningful and challenging work, and the value that we can get from the older workforce. So that's a real focus point for us. So identity and understanding of our psychosocial risks, but a real flavour of ensuring that we've got a safe working environment that is healthy for our older workforce. And right now, I don't think we're there. So there's a lot of opportunity and upside for us there.
One of the things I've noticed, Nick, also is your increased focus on partnering with your contractors in your supply chain as a partnership, as opposed to being a principal and a contractor,
Yeah.
and the change in focus and philosophy around that, and it is very much a leadership role that Genesis Energy is taking in that space, in terms of now working with contractors to lift their capability and their culture, bearing in mind that it's all interrelated.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think we've very much, for many years now, we've considered our internal reporting. I know lots of organisations have focused on their internal measurement and monitoring from an employee base, but we've always done it for our contractor base. So I say always, I should correct myself. For the last couple of years, we've had a strong focus on measuring and monitoring performance from a safety perspective for our total workforce, so anybody that does work. And again, the LPG business has spun up more layers of where real risks can happen that are not even anywhere near our sites, but these are people that are doing work on behalf of Genesis. And so we've taken a real kind of step back and worked collaboratively across health and safety, the operational parts of the business, but also the procurement teams, to take a really good view on what are the key principles that are driving the risks and roles and responsibilities and the relationships that we should be having with the people that contract and subcontract work for us. So from a PCBU perspective, being very tuned in to making informed decisions around those relationships and what's our levels of assurance that we want to have from a principal perspective, and how do we work with our, as you say, our partners. But that it differs to any organisation that has a health and safety team like we do. We are a finite resource and we're shared across multiple things, so you've really got to work hard to make sure that you put focus on where the risks are, the major risks, and that's something that we've been doing through our, what we now call our refreshed supplier framework. So, and we would be at risk without that clarity of getting into that awful area of underreach and overreach in terms of your assurance. So that's one thing that we want to be very clear on in working with our people.
Nick, congratulations, well done this year on being a finalist in the large enterprise of Safest Place to Work Awards this year, and also being an Innovation Award winner. I know that you and the team have put a tremendous amount of effort into making this a safer place for not just your employees but your contractors and the community at large. I think you well and truly deserve the Innovation Award this year, showing that leadership and stepping outside of typically an inward-looking facing organisation to an outwardly facing one. So congratulations, Nick.
Thank you, Mark.
Safe365, intelligent health and safety software for business.